Hi everyone, this is Mrs. Snowbeck. Today we are going to do Unit 2, Lesson 3, and we're going to talk about writing equations for lines and graphing lines today. We're going to start with slope-intercept form. This one should seem rather familiar to you. I believe you've used it before. Slope-intercept form is y equals mx plus b, and this is one way to write the equation for a line. The m represents the slope. I have no idea why they picked the letter M. And the B represents what's called the y-intercept. Now remember, the y-intercept is where a line crosses the y-axis. So let's just say this is our graph. Remember, this is your x-axis, this is your y-axis. And let's say we have a line that's graphed looking like that red one. The y-intercept is right here. The y-intercept is where the line crosses the y-axis. So if you take a look at number 1, it says y equals 1/2 x plus 3. Can you tell me what the slope is? Well, remember, y equals mx plus b. M is the slope. So in this case, 1/2 is in the m spot, so 1/2 is the slope. The y-intercept is 3. Now, if I wanted to graph this, it's pretty simple. I go on the y-axis, which is this vertical axis, and I'm going to go up to 3. So 1, 2, 3. It's going to cross right here, but it's going to have a slope of 1/2. So from that dot, remember, slope is like rise over run. So I'm going to rise 1 and run 2. Rise 1, run 2. Connect them, and there you have it. There's your graph. So will you guys pause the video and try number 2? All right, if you did this one, the y-intercept is at -3, so you put your first point at -3, and then from that point you do a slope of 6. So the slope was 6, the y-intercept is -3. 6 is the same as 6 over 1, so just remember, this is your slope. Slope is 6, but from your first point, your y-intercept, you're going to go up 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and over 1. If nothing's under the 6, that means there's a 1 under there. So that's how it should look. So just remember, the y-intercept for any graph is where the line crosses the y-axis, and the x-intercept for any graph is where the line crosses the x-axis. So again, if we had a graph like this, and here's, let's say this is our line, this spot right here, that is the y-intercept, and this spot right here crossing the x-axis, this is the x-intercept. Number 3, write an equation in slope-intercept form of the line with a slope of 1/4 and a y-intercept of 6, then graph the line. So we know we want to write it in slope-intercept form, which is y equals mx plus b. Our slope is 1/4, so it's going to go y equals 1/4 x. Our y-intercept is 6, so plus 6. This is the equation for the line. Now we graph it. Our first point, remember, goes at the y-intercept, so we're going to go on the y-axis. We're going to go up 6. So here's our first point. From that point, we're going to have a slope of 1/4. So we're going to rise 1 and go to the right 4. We're going to put our second point. We're going to connect, and there we have it. Of course, it always can't stay that easy, right? It's going to get a little more complicated. So this one says, write an equation for the line in slope-intercept form that goes through these 2 points. Well, there's a couple ways to do this. One, remember, we're trying to write y equals mx plus b. One thing we could do is we could find m by using the formula that we learned yesterday, which is change in y's over change in x's, or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So what I would maybe do is plug in like 0 minus 9 over -2 minus 4. Take your y minus your y, and then divide it by your x minus your x. You're going to get -9 over -6, which reduces to 3 over 2. Two negatives make a positive. So we now know that it's going to be y equals 3/2 x plus b. And we need to find the b. So what we do is we pick either of the 2 points. It doesn't matter which one. I'm going to pick this one, the -2, 0, because it's got smaller numbers. And remember, this is an x, this is a y, so we can plug those into our equation. So the y is 0, so I go 0 equals 3 over 2. The x is -2, and then I have plus b, and I'm trying to figure out what b is. Well, the 2's can kind of cancel. So we're going to have 0 equals -3 plus b. We keep that negative with the 3. Add the 3 to the other side, and it turns out b equals 3. Haha! We can now write our final answer. We have our slope, we have our y-intercept. So it's y equals 3 over 2x plus 3. And that is the equation of our line in y-intercept form. Now, slope-intercept form. Now we're going to graph that line. So remember, we put our first dot at the y-intercept. So we're going to put our first dot at 3. And then from that dot, think about which way do we go. We're going to go up 3 and right 2. Put our second dot, and there's our line. Of course, if you miss, you just make your dot bigger. All right, so I'm going to have you pause the video and try number 5. It's just like number 4, so give it a shot. When you're done, unpause the video. All right, I'm going to start by finding the slope. So I'm going to do 3 minus -7 over -1 minus -3. y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. I end up with 10 over 2, I believe. Slope is 5. So I know it's going to be y equals 5x plus b. Now I pick one of the points. It doesn't matter which one. I think I'll go with this one because it's got smaller numbers. So remember, x is first, y is second, so y is 3. So I'm going to go 3 equals 5 times -1 plus b. I plug in that -1 for x. So this is 3 equals -5 plus b. Add the 5. 8 equals b. Now I can write the equation for the line. Y equals, the slope is 5, so 5x, y-intercept is 8, plus 8. Cool, now we have to graph. This looks like it's probably going to go off my graph, so I have a couple of options. One is I could count by 2's instead of 1's, or a second thing is I can just let it go off the graph a little bit. So I'm just going to let it go off the graph. Here's my y-intercept at 8. So then remember, if our slope is 5, that's really like a 5 over 1. So I'm going to go up 5 and over 1. So now, if you don't like it going off your graph, you could go in reverse. So you could go down 5 and back 1 as well. And that way it would stay on your graph. Number 6, write an equation in slope-intercept form for a line that is perpendicular to the line y equals 1/5 x plus 2, and it goes through 2, 0. Then graph the line. All right, that's a lot to wrap our head around. I notice we need it to be perpendicular to this y equals 1/5 x plus 2. So the original slope is 1/5. But we need it to be perpendicular. So the perpendicular slope, remember you flip it and switch it, it's going to be -5 over 1, which is really -5. So this is going to be our M for our new line. Now, we need it to go through the point 2, 0. So I think about our equation. y equals negative 5x plus b. I need it to have the slope of negative 5, but I need it to go through the point 2, 0. So what I think about is x is 2, y is 0. Plug those in. 0 equals negative 5 times 2 plus b. So 0 equals negative 10 plus b. Add 10. Haha, 10 equals b. We now have our equation. So the final equation is y equals negative 5x plus 10, and we can graph this. So we're going to put our first dot at 10. Positive 10 is way up here. And then from that dot, we're going to have a slope of negative 5. Now really that means go down 5, right 1. So down 5, right 1. Down 5, right 1. Connect them. And what you could do is check, did it actually go through the point 2, 0? Well, 2, 0 over 2, yeah, there it is. It went through the line of 2, 0. We could also check, would it be perpendicular to the line y equals 1/5 x plus 2? We could check that. I'll just kind of graph it on here lightly. So here's 2, my y-intercept, and then I would go up 1 over 5. So imagine this line. Do they look like they would be perpendicular? They do, don't they? I think they do. So yes, the red line is our graph. Next, we're going to get into some special cases. And so it says the equation for a horizontal line is y equals b. Think of number 7 here. It has y equals 3. It's almost like this, y equals 0x plus 3. So there's no x's. The slope is 0. The y-intercept is 3. And so if I put a dot at my y-intercept, I put a point at 3. And then I think about a slope of 0. That means rise 0, go over 1. It will look like this. There it is. That is the equation y equals 3. No matter what the x value is, the y value is always up 3. So think about all these points on this line. Like they're always up 3, up 3, up 3 from the from the x-axis. So horizontal lines will always have a slope of 0. On the flip side, go to number 8, the equation for a vertical line will always be x equals some number. So x equals a. In this case, you can see we have x equals negative 2. So the thing that I'm going to think about here is x always has to equal negative 2. So on the x-axis, if I go over to negative 2 and put a dot, every x has to be negative 2. My line is going to look like this. No matter what point I pick on this line, it's always going to be left 2. The x is always negative 2. Now the slope of this line, we could go up as many as we want, but we're going to go over 0. And so what happens is it's like having a 0 on the bottom of your fraction. Remember, the slope of every vertical line, we learned this in the last section, it's undefined. It's impossible to have a 0 on the bottom of a fraction. The y-intercept, there's none. It never crosses the y-axis. Number 9, write an equation for a vertical line that goes through 2, 5, then graph it. So I actually like to do this in reverse. I like to graph it first. So everybody put a dot at 2, 5. Okay, so here's 2, 5. We need a vertical line that goes through that point. So let's draw in a vertical line. There it is. There's the graph. We're done graphing already. Now we need to write an equation for that line. Now remember what we talked about, you're only going to have one letter in your equation if it's a horizontal line or a vertical line. In this case, we always are going right to, right to, right to. The x value is always 2. X equals 2 is our equation. And that's it. You're done. A second type of equation for a line is called point slope form of a line. And it's just a different way of writing an equation for a line. The formula looks like this: y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. The m is still your slope, and the x1, y1 is a point on the line. So if you're given a slope and a point that's on the line, this is a pretty quick way to write the equation for the line. Number 10, write an equation in point slope form for the line with the slope of -3/5 that contains -1/8, and then graph the line. So remember, point slope form is y minus y1 m times x minus x1. So we do not plug anything in for the y, but the y1, if I go up to the equation here, this is going to be my x1 and my y1. This is going to be my m. So let's plug some stuff in. It's going to go y minus 8 equals -3/5, and then parenthesis x minus -1. Now the only thing I really have to simplify is the minus a minus. So it's y minus 8 equals -3/5, and that really is x plus 1. This is your equation in point slope form. You're done with that part, but you also have to graph this equation. To me, it's easier to graph it not from the equation, but just from the information. We know it's going to contain the point -1/8. It has to go through the point -1/8. So put a point there, put a dot. So -1/8, there it is. Our line has to go through that. But we also know it has a slope of -3/5. So from this point, we have to go down 3, right 5. So down 3, right 5. Put our dot, connect, and there it is. We have graphed the equation with a slope of -3/5 that contains the point -1/8. Please pause the video and try number 11, and when you're done, then go ahead and see if you got it right. It should be just like the last one we did. It should be just like number 10. So give it a try. All right, we're trying to write it in point slope form. This is that new one we were working with. And so here we go. I'm going to plug some things in. It's going to be y minus -6 equals 1/4 x minus -3. Simplify the double negatives. So it's really y plus 6 equals 1/4 x plus 3. And that's it. You want to stop there and leave it in point slope form. So here it is, point slope form. We stop there. Next, we need to graph this. So I do not use the equation to graph it. What I do is I look at the point. I know it has to contain -3, -6. And so I'm going to put a point there. So -3 is left 3 and down 6. So right here. It has to contain that point, but it also has to have a slope of 1/4. So from that point, I'm going to go up 1 and over 4. And I'm going to put a dot. And that is what the equation should look like if it's graphed. Number 12. Just imagine you have graduated from high school. You are out on your own. You're looking for apartments. So here you go. You're going to shop around a little bit. An apartment complex that charges $525 per month plus a $750 one-time maintenance fee. Can you write an equation to represent the total cost of rent? Okay, so they're going to charge you $750 one time when you first rent the apartment, because in case there's damage, then they have that money to like replace carpet or paint or something like that. And they're also going to charge you $525 per month as you live there. So think about it. It's going to be $525 times however many months you're there, plus $750 one time. That is the equation that would represent the situation. Notice it looks like a y equals mx plus b. Slope-intercept form. Part B. Write an equation for a complex which charges a $200 one-time maintenance fee plus $600 per month for rent. A little typo there. So take a minute, see if you can do part B. $600 per month plus $200 one-time fee. So there's that. Part C. If a person expects to stay in this apartment for 1 year, which complex offers the better rate? All right, please pause the video. See if you can determine that. Which one would be cheaper if you're going to stay for 1 year? When you're done, unpause the video. So you can see my two equations here. I chose 12 because that's the number of months in 1 year. So for the first one, that one is going to cost me $7,050 for 1 year. For the second one, it's going to cost me $7,400 for the first year. So the better deal is the first one. Just make a little note here, better deal. Unless, of course, it like has rats or is like 100 miles away from where you're going to school or work. There could be a lot of other factors, but if you're just going by only price, then that first one would be the better deal. So it is time for you to try Unit 2 Practice 3. If you get stuck, please send me a Schoology message. Have a great day.